Welcome back to Highlander Newsroom. My name is Madison Rheins. I'll be your host today. I'd like to introduce our panel. We have Sam Lau, the radar editor, Amaray Alvarez, the assistant news editor, and Siddhant Gupta, our copy editor. Today we'll be discussing New Year's resolutions, Spiderman No Way Home, and remote instructions for UCR. I'd like to first say Happy New Year's to anyone listening and to the panel. So how was your guys' New Year's, and did you guys make any resolutions this year?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I feel like the whole concept of resolutions is going to be really different this year, especially coming off, 2 years where, we really haven't had contact with anyone. Personally, I'm just, my resolution is to try to get my life back to normal. I feel like sometimes I still feel kind of funky going out there and kind of weird being surrounded by anyone and so I don't have anything really specific in mind. I'm not sure if anyone really does, to be completely honest. But I think as of right now, I'm just kind of my resolution is to kind of integrate myself back into regular life.
Yeah, definitely. Amaray?
Yeah, I think integrating yourself back in the regular life is pretty good. I never really do specific resolutions. I don't create a list or anything. I just kind of feel like I need to do better. I guess it's just because it's a new year, people feel optimistic. They're ready to take on life again. And it is kind of hard with the pandemic. So usually I just kind of feel like I want to do better, do better in life, in school, be healthier. I mean, it starts off kind of well. I know it's hard to keep resolutions because life is complicated and things just get complicated. But yeah, that's I guess my resolution, just do better. Like Sam said, with the pandemic still going on, it's kind of hard to be optimistic, but we should try to get back to normal. For New Year's Eve, I went to a concert and the DJ kept saying who's ready for 2022? And the crowd was yeah, people are not excited.
No, yeah, I get that. Siddhant?
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I thought just getting back to normal and being in society is a good thing that I want to get more I guess used to, especially with the pandemic. It's tough, but for resolutions, I haven't written any specifically down that I have in mind. Last year I did. They're usually tough because not all the time you can complete them or meet them, but resolutions that I have in mind are health, school related, and then just personal. So
Yeah, I feel in the article, Evelyn, who is the opinions editor who wrote the article, she did a really good job at explaining you don't need to make all these grandiose decisions for yourself. You don't need to, set unrealistic standards for yourself. And I feel that's a really good, important message that people should take along with them when it comes to going into 2022. We've been kind of dragged through the mud as students during the pandemic. I feel for myself personally, when it comes to New Year's resolutions, I just want to do something simple that I can attain. I want to read more books. I've had a good start on that. I finished one of my books, so I'm looking for a new book. And I also want to listen to more podcasts. I feel there's a lot of interesting podcasts out there. One podcast I'm really interested in listening to right now is Emma Chamberlain's podcast. I really like it. It's really good to study to and do work to. It's kind of you're on the phone with a friend. So if I can find more podcasts like that, that's my New Year's resolution, is just to listen more and do stuff. Taking care of myself and all that, but just trying to not set unrealistic standards, because I feel that's what gets everybody, and it trips everyone up, because when you don't follow through with your New Year's resolution, you kind of feel defeated and stuff. But honestly, like everybody's just doing the best they can with the circumstances. I mean, Omicron, it just feels like it's caving in on everybody. So I definitely understand, like, just being patient with yourself and like prioritizing your health and like your social well-being is really important. So I really enjoyed this article written by Evelyn. I thought it was really good. And then, you know, piggybacking off of that, it's going to be hard these first 2 weeks, kind of like going with remote instruction and all that. I personally am relieved that we're doing remote instruction for the first 2 weeks of school, just because, you know, it seems like everybody I know is getting COVID and it's just, you know, running rampant. And I know students are going to be spreading it to each other. So it was a good decision on the UC's part to make school remote for 2 weeks. I want to stay optimistic and hope that, you know, we don't go back to a repeat of last year where they said, okay, finals are online, and then, okay, well, spring break will be extended or spring quarter will be online. And then it's like, all right, get off campus. So I hope it's not a repeat. I'm going to stay optimistic. I really hope people get their boosters. But yeah, how do you guys feel about school being online for the first 2 weeks?
I mean, being like a senior, obviously it kind of sucks hearing that, especially having so many years already taken away of you know, the quote unquote college experience. But like, I definitely can't say I'm upset by it because it's such a reasonable decision. No matter how much it may, you know, affect students and make them kind of sad about what's going on situationally, it's just the best choice as of right now. It is true, like, you know, everyone's getting sick and I feel like the world has so much pent up energy that, like, if anyone really has to hear that life has to go back somewhat to a quarantine state, I don't think it'll be as easy to get everyone behind that, just because, you know, everyone is starting to go to festivals, and everyone is starting to go to bigger events out together and starting to go eat out at restaurants, like everything's good. And so everyone definitely starting to feel that sense of normalcy. So, you know, trying to be like, well, you know, it's going to be in and out, guys. Like, we're going to have to be, we might have some time where we're free and the numbers are down, but we might have to go back into quarantine, back and forth. I think as long as students are kept in the loop and understand what's going on and understand that this could be a prolonged issue and this could be something that might extend itself, and we're prepared for that, I think it would be that would be the best thing possible. I think the thing that frustrates us as students is when we feel like, you know, we're getting the information last, because that you know, it affects us the most, aside from, you know, professors or on-campus workers. It really affects us. So us feeling like, oh, like, what's going to happen, or the fact, you know, someone might ask us and we don't have any type of answer or any type of clue of what's going on, that's kind of where I think the frustration builds up and kind of where anger starts to set in. But I think, at least speaking for myself, the decision is the best choice as of right now. And I hope after 2 weeks, students and faculty can come together and kind of have that discussion again and have that decision be made of what we're going to do after these first 2 weeks of school.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like this is the best plan of action right now for us to be online in 2 weeks, but I'm not very confident in like how well it'll work out, just because like the UCs are doing the 2 weeks online, and that's good for us. But like most of us are already vaccinated. I know the new like variant, it's getting people who are vaccinated also, but like the spread I feel is still going to be there, because like my younger brother, he's a senior in high school, and like all the California public high schools, they're still going back. Like he starts tomorrow also on Monday, like the 3rd. And I feel like the high school students, like my brother's vaccinated, but a lot of them aren't because like they just got approved, like their parents don't want it or they don't want it. And like us, we had to get like mandatory vaccinated, most of us, for the UCs. So I feel like just having like the high schoolers, the middle schoolers, even the elementary kids in school unprotected, like that's going to continue to spread. Like over these past like few weeks for break, so many people got sick, and most of us were only like even seeing our friends and family, or like just family. So like if the spread was like that in our like close bubbles, imagine like once you have schools back open with like kids who they're saying like are primarily getting like sick now. So I don't know. I feel like in the college setting it'll be okay, but I feel like the spread will still continue because of the children. And then I agree, like the booster is good. I already got it. I had no side effects. I think like the first 2 shots I felt worse than the booster.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it's gonna go.
Yeah. Siddhant?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the 2 weeks remote are good for us, like as the well-being for the UC schools, because I feel like everyone's saying we're gonna reduce or lower the amount of people getting COVID, and it can actually like save a lot of people, but like people are scared that it may not be just 2 weeks. Like last year or the 2 years ago, I don't think personally, I feel like it won't be more than 2 weeks, because I feel like with like vaccines, and we have a better understanding on what we need to do to stop COVID. We can prevent it from being over 2 weeks. But yeah, it's a scary situation.
Yeah, I agree, especially with what Amaray said about, K through 12 coming back to school and not a lot of people having the vaccines. The thing with, COVID and Omicron and, being online is you can't really put a time limit on Omicron or COVID. So we can't know for sure if 2 weeks is going to be enough. I mean, I hope for us college students it will, but knowing K through 12 going back to school, it's just going to be breeding grounds for the Omicron variant. Like Amaray said, if we're getting it just from small groups of people, like hanging out with our friends that we see all the time, I can't imagine, a middle school kid not spreading it to their entire math class. So I definitely understand like how that could be nerve-wracking. I just hope for us UC students, we can get back to normal as soon as possible. I know I want to be on campus and see everybody. I want to see campus bustling again. And, even for sports, we have to take a hiatus with our UCR teams, and that's going to have a big effect on championships and stuff like that. So hopefully as soon as possible, everybody can get their booster. CVS always has open slots for booster appointments. So it's important that people get the word out, get tested regularly. There are so many drive-through testing sites that are available just in Riverside and San Bernardino County alone. I know that I went to one yesterday. So I think it's really important that people utilize these resources and that the campus offers like these adequate resources as well to students. Not that they haven't already been doing that. I think that having the testing site on campus was great. And I hope that they continue to do that and have it be more openly available to students. Switching gears now, we're going to start talking about the Spider-Man movie, which personally I have not seen. I have seen all of the Spider-Man movies leading up, like in all the different franchises. I've seen the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and even some of the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but I have not seen this one. But I do know now, like it was spoiled for me, I do know now that they're all in it, and it was crazy. I know that they made more money in pre-sale tickets, I believe more than Endgame. Like this movie was hype. So I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Do we have to give a spoiler warning for this recording?
Maybe. Maybe. Spoiler alert for those who haven't watched the movie yet. Turn it off right now. But yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on the movie?
Really? I was gonna say, actually, I really liked it. That was a big thing for me. I was like, I gotta watch it as early as possible. Like, especially social media, I was like, I can't have this ruined. Like, and so I got in there the second day it came out, and I actually really enjoyed it. I think it was the first time I'd been back to the theater since we had COVID. So that was pretty interesting on that end. But yeah, like I think that something with Marvel that they kind of have is like a staple. When they started the whole thing, it was definitely Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and kind of that was the first direction they went. And then after that, kind of everyone followed, and they filled in the universe, slowly, piece by piece. Obviously, with the results of Endgame, I think there's kind of that hole that needs to be refilled, and they're doing it slowly. They've been moving in a different direction slowly. With the TV shows they're dropping on Disney Plus and little things here and there. But I think this movie was more of the entrance to the new era. I think this was like a staple. They've definitely had movies coming out before this, but I think this one is where they have really kind of made it known now, like, this is our new guy. Like, this is going to be the face of our franchise. This is going to be the guy leading us into the next charge, the next generation, possibly. Like, I feel like, for us, those who are in college, if you're a big fan of Marvel, you think of, Robert Downey Jr., RDJ, that is your guy. And I think with this, newer generation, that's going to kind of be what Tom Holland's Spider-Man is for them. He's going to be that staple figure. And I think that's why they drew such a close connection between him and Iron Man, so that it would be easier for fans to transition it in their minds.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I agree. I totally think that like Tom Holland is going to be the new face. Like, he's everywhere. He's all over my social media. Like, this movie has been all over my TikTok For You page, like everywhere. So I totally agree with what you're saying. Amaray?
Yeah, I think too, because he's one of like the younger Marvel characters right now. They feel like he'll take the franchise, like he can go the furthest with them, because a lot of the other superheroes are kind of older and like they're creating different storylines. With what Sam was saying, I do agree that like this movie really connected it, because the last Marvel movie, I believe, was like the Eternals, and that one was considered a Marvel movie, but it really didn't connect back into like the Marvel characters, the Avengers. It was just kind of on the side. They like mentioned the Avengers, but it didn't connect, even though like I'm sure they're going to eventually. I saw the movie like a week after. I know I did want to get in earlier, but I wasn't able to. And like they even had tickets go on sale like a few weeks before at midnight for this movie, and like it crashed all the movie theater websites. So like that was a big thing. So I just kind of gave up. And then after a week, I was able to see it. I did like the movie. I've seen all the other Spider-Mans too. He is like one of my favorite characters. I think the Tobey Maguire was my favorite. I do like Tom Holland though. I felt like the movie was a little slow in the middle, like not to bum anyone out, but overall it was good. I think it just gave a lot of backstory on all the different characters, and I wish like there would have been more action with the villains that we saw, because the villains, it was kind of like a nicer approach, because Tom Holland, like that was his whole thing. Like, I'm a different Spider-Man. Like, I want to be nice. Like, I want to create change. Whereas like in the previous Spider-Man movies, it was just like a superhero fighting a supervillain, and like the supervillain might die.
Yeah, I think that also just shows how complex Tom Holland Spider-Man is. He's a little more empathetic, which is something that I think they've tried to capture in a lot of superheroes, but I think it's best captured in him as like an empathetic public figure. And I think Marvel, like, they do have a lot of backstory in their movies, but I think that's good for people who haven't seen previous movies. Marvel does a good job at kind of like filling in those gaps for you so that when you do see it, you don't feel like you have to play catch up with like the other movies and stuff. Siddhant?
I saw the movie. It was really good. I remember discussing it with like family members, and yeah, I agree. Like, the movie had a lot of emotion, and I really felt like it like touched people. Like, for example, the way that Spider-Man or Tom Holland wanted to help the villains, and how his Aunt May was like trying to teach him, like, you need to give people another chance, even they'll learn their mistakes and change. I thought that was unique. There are a lot of sad moments, like, but it was a lot of like twists and turns, which was really cool. Yeah, like some of the villains like turned bad, and one of them turned good, which was really cool. Even the end was interesting, which I was like surprised the ending went that way. I like the way they introduced Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. That was pretty cool. And having them in the film was like, I heard a lot about it, but like actually seeing them was awesome. And yeah, also having the old villains back were really cool. So I think they did a great job.
Yeah, I think like with the introduction of like the multiverse and stuff, it's going to open up a lot of different like pathways for Marvel, because now there's just so much to explore. And I really like how in this Spider-Man franchise, the Tom Holland Spider-Man franchise, I like how the supporting actors and actresses, they're all very multifaceted. I feel like in the past Spider-Man movies, I didn't really get that from MJ, like, or even Aunt May. I feel like in this franchise, they have like personalities and like they have a mind of their own. They're not so two-dimensional. Not to say that in the past movies the supporting actors and actresses weren't that great. They really were. Like, I loved the past two Spider-Man movies, both the MJs. I thought they were really good, but I think Zendaya does a good job at the character and giving her like a very like, I don't know, you see more of their personalities, I feel like, in this franchise. And I think they do a really good job at that. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what Marvel has to do next, especially with COVID and movie theaters. Like if they're gonna do more streaming on Disney Plus, or if they're gonna continue to release big box office movies, especially with the Omicron variant. Everything ties back to COVID, I feel like. So I'm excited to see what Marvel has in store. And then since we do have time, I do want to discuss briefly the Biden student loan forgiveness. I want to know your guys' thoughts on that, helping borrowers out. You know, a lot of people have been unable to pay off their student loans because of COVID. And I just want to know your thoughts on that. What kind of forgiveness should be implemented?
I think in current times with what we've been facing, I hear a lot of students either younger, coming into college not want to go because they don't see the worth as of right now, or two, kids in college being like, let me just take a break and stop because it's not worth it's not worth the amount of money I'm giving out. So I feel like a lot of people are getting in a very hopeless state of mind, and something like a loan forgiveness just kind of takes out the biggest overlying, reason to not go. So I think it's something that needs to be addressed and looked at, because students do kind of need a reason to get up and want to go as of right now, because looking how it is, and this is not how school is supposed to be, and this is not, ideal. Obviously, it's the only choice that we really have as of right now. But that doesn't mean it's in a young teenager's mind, it's going to be justified, and it doesn't mean that it's going to motivate them to want to push through, necessarily. So I think it's an issue that needs to be of top priority, so that we can motivate a lot of kids who might have, one, dropped out to come back, or two, not started to start. Those are, I feel like, the two biggest categories we have right now, and that's the biggest issue I think schools are facing. So, I think these two things are hand in hand, and if this issue gets addressed, then I think the rates will definitely go back up.
Yeah. Amaray?
Mm-hmm. It was a campaign promise, so it definitely needs to be addressed. I do see where you're coming from, that students might be discouraged to go into school, especially with COVID. We're still paying full price tuition, and we're going online, offline. Classes that are supposed to be in person. Two of mine got switched to online, and I live on campus, so I expect to be there, but I can't because it's just out of my control. I know, at least in California, for community college, if you go directly from high school, you get those 2 years paid. So that, people might opt to transfer in instead of going straight to four-year university. If the loans are just too much, the economy is not good, and the loan forgiveness hasn't been addressed, because it would greatly help the economy. It would help so many people. It's just so hard right now. Just the lifestyles that our parents had, what they worked for, it can't be achieved the same way. And then even after college, so many of my friends who have already graduated, none of them can get jobs. They're working at the mall still, they're working at Sephora, Target. It's just the grocery store. It's just hard. People might say, what's the point if I can't even get a job because COVID is delaying things even more. Office jobs, they're working from home. They've already laid off their own staff. So why are they going to hire someone fresh out of college who doesn't have experience? So I don't know how we can turn that around. I feel without loans or having some forgiveness, that would help people become more motivated and stimulate the economy to then open up those jobs back or create new companies.
Yeah, I agree. Siddhant?
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I feel with the large cost for college, it's tough for especially senior high schoolers trying to go to college. It's unmotivating, and it's tough for a lot of people, and I feel it should, with loan forgiveness, it helps students that have completed college and want to it's a lot of debt, and it's tough. So I feel what college is so important, because it gives us new opportunities, and that's why I feel loans should be forgiven.
Yeah, I agree. I feel to pursue higher education, it shouldn't be a privilege that's just for the elite. And I feel that's what it is right now, which is a shame, because everyone should be entitled to higher education. And it's a shame that degrees are going to waste, because the job market is so difficult to get into right now because of COVID. So I feel at the very least, student loan forgiveness would help. And we need to hold these politicians accountable for keeping their promises. I saw a tweet on Twitter a couple days ago, and it was funny. Someone quoted Kamala Harris from last like when they were campaigning before they became president and vice president, she said, the first thing we're going to do in office is solve COVID. And someone quoted it and said, that's still the first thing they're going to do in office. Because yeah, we haven't seen student loan forgiveness. We haven't seen COVID relief. We haven't seen anything. And I really want to see that, because students are entitled to an education. It doesn't matter their economic background. So yeah, we need to forgive these student loans. And with that, I'd like to end Newsroom this week. So be sure to tune in next week for all new Newsroom, and we'll see you then. Thank you so much for listening.